Well, hello everyone. It's Catherine here, ready to do some tapping tonight. As much for me as for you. Maybe more for me. Maybe there's a little self-interest here in doing some tapping together. Um, so I'm not going to say a whole lot more except that I feel at some point last week I sort of hit my wall in terms of just everything that's going on and have trying to just be really kind and patient with myself. Hi, Tamara. I went to the beach with a friend. Thank you, Peggy. That was life-saving for me. And yeah, just trying to take it slow, take it easy, not push myself. I read an interesting article yesterday. I don't even remember exactly the name of it, but it was from a mental health magazine, and it talked about sort of reaching the tipping point in our surge response. And I'm sure just by saying that word, you'll understand what I mean, right? Whether you're a mental health provider or, you know, a health, another kind of health provider, a physical health provider, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a parent at home trying to manage at home work and kids at home. I think you can relate to this idea that when the crisis hits, right, we sort of go all in, right, to try to manage it, and we're doing okay for a while. We have our ups and downs, of course, but pretty much we're staying on top of things, doing what we need to do. And then, something else comes along, like the racial situation that we've been addressing in our country. And then we add the political environment on top of that. And that surge of energy that we called on to sort of get us through the crisis. When we hear stories about somebody picking up a car off of someone. In fact, I just talked to somebody yesterday. It's an amazing story of where someone picked a 2,000-pound beam off of, I think it was his father or his father-in-law that fell during a construction accident. Where do we get that kind of superpower? But we do have these superpowers that we draw on, right, in times of crisis and urgency. And our system, our adrenals, our adrenaline system can somehow respond to that. But with most crises, whether they're a momentary crisis like somebody picking a car up off of someone who's been hurt, or something that, lasts a few weeks, we can sort of keep that surge up. And then at some point when it's over, have time to reset, right? And allow our system to go back out of that fight or flight response into a more of a relaxation response. And our cells and our mind can reset, and we can have dopamine, moving through our system again, bringing us some joy and some sense of relief. But in this COVID situation, there's this elongated period of crisis where there's so much loss on so many levels in our lives, not just loss of life, but I've talked about this before: loss of routine, loss of work, loss of certainty, loss of sense of self, loss of any feeling of optimism that life will ever go back to not normal, but certainly a new normal. And we don't know when any of that is going to happen. And so this surge of energy that we call upon in most crises, even when someone we love dies, right? There's a grieving period, and it may stretch on, but there's also at some point a sense of completion, like the crisis is over. And this crisis isn't going away anytime soon. And so that surge energy, we sort of use that up. And then we run out of reserves, and we don't have a whole lot left to tap into, to tap on to keep ourselves functioning. And we may start to notice irritation or memory loss or a tendency to fall back into overeating, or maybe having that, extra glass of wine, or we're arguing with our spouse or the people we're living with because our reserves are really tapped out. And so I just thought it was a good idea and important to come on and literally do some tapping to change the chemistry that's running through our bodies, to bring us out of that survival mode, out of that fight or flight response, out of the fear, the worry, the disappointment, the sadness, the uncertainty, the grief, all of it that's been bubbling up. And find perhaps even just a few moments of respite where we can let go of the worry and we can change the flow of chemistry so that we are giving ourselves chemistry that helps to calm the nervous system, that helps to renew the cellular regeneration, that gives us a break from the constant survival or fight or flight mode that's draining that's draining our organs, that's draining our cells. So without further ado, I'm sure you all understand what I'm talking about. I hope you're all doing well. In spite of everything that's going on around us, I still ultimately believe that we are in a major transformation that's going to present opportunities to create a better and more equitable world. But in the meantime, it can get exhausting and scary and ugly. And so, I think we're right in the thick of it. And so hopefully this tapping will, again, bring some relief, bring some sense of resource and renewal back into your mind and into your nervous system and even into your physical body as we reduce some of the stress. I'm going to start, as I often do, with my tingshaws, because they both create kind of an auditory distinction between everything that was just happening and what is about to happen. And the sound and the vibration of the energy, it's really light energy, moving through, will also help support the breaking up and releasing of blockages in your energy system. So just allowing the vibration of the chimes to kind of move through your field and also through your body. And I'm just going to wing it. I don't have any notes. I don't have any real idea of where this is going to take us. I'm just going to allow Spirit to move through and create a tapping sequence that's in the greatest and highest good for everyone who's here and everyone who will listen in or watch later on. So feel free to tap along with me, speak the words out loud wherever you are, and we will just be inspired. We will allow Spirit to move through us for this tapping session. Even though I feel so exhausted, so stressed out and worried about the future, I deeply and completely love and accept myself and all of my feelings. Even though some days I just don't know how I'm going to get through the day, I just feel so stressed, so many things to be getting done, so many ways in which my energy, so many directions in which my energy is pulled, so many other people's needs that I have to tend to. And I'm just not sure that I can get through it another day. But I trust that I will, and I deeply and completely love and accept myself and all of my feelings. Even though I feel really sad and just feel this sense of grief deep inside of me for the lives that have been lost, for the innocence that has been lost, for the sense of security or certainty or optimism for the future that has been lost. I give myself permission to feel whatever I'm feeling, because these are challenging times and I'm doing the best that I can. And I deeply and completely love and accept myself and all of my feelings. On the top of the head, who would ever have thought that we would find ourselves in this space? On the eyebrow, so much change, so much loss, so much anger and hatred on the side of your eye. It's really heartbreaking when I let myself think about where we are. There are so many things that feel out of my control. Of course, starting with this virus under the nose and everything that has changed since this virus came into our lives. Under your lip, all the things we took for granted, running to the store, having our kids go to school, going to work every day, simple things that we never thought twice are now constant questions in my mind. What, on the collarbone, what decision should I make? Should I go back to the office? Should I send my kids to school? Should I visit my elderly parents or grandparents? Is it okay for me to go out with friends and have some fun? Should I wear my mask all the time? Just so many questions that we never would have imagined. It's really heartbreaking. It's been difficult these last few weeks as this has dragged on and on under your eye, to remain upbeat and optimistic and have some sense of positivity under your nose, even though there's a part of me that believes that this is a positive transformation under your lip, that this is part of our evolution that we've really been waiting for. On the collarbone, sometimes the day-to-day gets really challenging, and it's hard to keep myself in that place of positivity and optimism. Under your arm, I can feel the stress in my body. On the top of the head, so many physical manifestations. Tightness in my neck and shoulders. On the eyebrow, more frequent headaches on the side of your eye. Heaviness in my chest, almost like a vice grip around my heart. Under your eye, sometimes I have trouble breathing. Under your nose, and some nights I have trouble sleeping. Under your lip, it's hard to keep the anxiety and the worry at bay. On the collarbone, even when I know deep in me somewhere that there will be a positive outcome to all of this under your arm. In the meantime, there are just so many decisions, so many choices, so many changes on the top of your head, and nobody seems to have any answers. The government doesn't seem to have any answers. The institutions don't have the answers. The schools are struggling to figure out what to do. Families are struggling to know what to do. Each under the lip, each and every day, it seems like there are new questions to consider as new information comes forward on the collarbone. And it's anxiety producing and stressful to have to make choices and have to make decisions under your arm when none of them seem ideal and certainly far from perfect. It can really be stressful on the eyebrow, and I can really feel anxious sometimes. So I take a breath and I remember the resources that I have available to me under the nose, even if I don't have the answers under the lip, even if the choices feel really challenging and difficult on the collarbone, even if I don't feel entirely certain that the decisions that I'm making and the choices I'm making are the best ones for myself, for my family, for my loved ones under your arm. I trust that I'm doing the best that I can. And I remember that it's important for me to take some time out on the eyebrow to do the things that will nourish my heart, my soul, my mind, my body, my energy system on the side of your eye. It's more important now than it ever has been under your eye for me to practice self-care, self-acceptance, and self-love under your nose. Even though there are lots of things on the to-do list under your lip, it's important for me to give myself permission to just take some time away on the collarbone, to take a walk, to take a nap, to do some meditation under your arm. If possible, meet with family or friends in person or online, to order in a meal instead of feeling like I have to cook all the time. And to know that I'm going to have ups and downs on the side of your eye, that there are going to be days when I feel better, and honestly, days when I just feel like crap under your nose, days when I've managed to get some things accomplished and it feels good under your lip, and other days where I can hardly drag my ass out of bed, and that's okay. On your collarbone, we weren't meant to go full steam ahead at this pace non-stop under your arm. We have to take time to refresh and renew and give ourselves and our brains the chance to rejuvenate and regenerate. On the top of your head, we're all being pushed to our limits. On the eyebrow, we have a lot of questions and no answers. On the side of the eye, we have a lot of fears and not a lot of confidence that the answers and the information we're being given are really accurate under your eye. And so we do the best we can. And part of that, doing the best we can under your nose, is being sure to take care of yourself in the best possible way. Give yourself permission to take downtime. Give yourself permission to move away from the project or the homework or the housework or whatever else seems to be calling to you under your arm. Nothing is more important than you taking care of yourself. On the top of your head, whether it's a day at the beach, on the eyebrow, or a walk around the block, or coffee with a friend, or sitting outside and just listening to the wind blowing through the trees, or the birds chirping, or the rain falling under your nose, allowing yourself to settle in to a rhythm that's comforting and nurturing and inviting. Under your lip, remember the resources that you have literally at your fingertips. On the collarbone, remember that you can tap when you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling a craving, when you're feeling irritable. Under your arm, when you're unable to sleep, when you're not thinking clearly, when you're frustrated with whatever it might be. Tapping is a wonderful way to bring your energy down, to collapse the emotions, to change the chemistry in your body. On the eyebrow, to bring yourself out of that survival mode, out of that fight or flight mode on the side of your eye, and into a space of more relaxation, of calmer energy, of allowing the chemistry in your body to switch from adrenaline and cortisol to serotonin and dopamine and other healthier chemistry. Remember that you can do the heart coherence exercise for just 3 minutes. You can listen to a meditation. You can sit and listen to the sound of a fan or an air conditioner and allow your mind to drift into a place of less resistance and less worry. There are lots of things that you could do for yourself, and the most important thing is to remember what they are and to give yourself full permission to take all the time that you need to renew and refresh and replenish. So even in these times of uncertainty, of fear, of anger, of divisiveness, make a commitment to yourself that you will create a space of inner peace, of self-acceptance, self-approval, self-love, self-forgiveness, through whatever means, whether it's tapping or meditation or walking in nature. Just be sure to take time for yourself in these really difficult and challenging times. So we'll come back to the side of your hand now. Just take a moment, letting that energy settle. You can end your tapping whenever it feels comfortable for you. And just sit for a moment and check in with yourself. Noticing whether anything has shifted in your physical body, the busyness of your mind, in your emotional self, or even in the energy field around you. We'll end again with a few chimes from the Tingsha. Please feel free to leave any comments, any observations about your energy, your emotions, your mindset. And before we finish up, I mentioned a couple of things, obviously tapping. I also mentioned the heart-brain coherence exercise. It's a wonderful 3-minute exercise, which I've done on Facebook Live before. But if you want a longer version of it, I do have a longer version with an explanation on my YouTube channel. Awesome! A couple of tapping virgins, so to speak. I hope you enjoyed your first experience. I'd love to hear how it was for you. So just know that there are things on my YouTube channel that you might find helpful. Some guided imageries, other kinds of meditations, the heart-brain coherence, other tapping videos that you can tap along with. And there's also in this group page under the videos tab, there are also all the old videos that I've done on this page. So, you're welcome to scroll around in there. I've transferred them all to my YouTube page and actually given them a title. So it's a little easier to find them that way. They don't have a name here in the video section, so you don't always know for sure what the video is going to be. Great, Tamara. I'm glad you found it relaxing. So, just so you know that normally if I'm working with a client in session, we would do several rounds of tapping and we would sort of check in each time and then adjust the language and then do another round. Oh, good, Laura. I'm glad you were here. So generally when I do them here, we just get through one round because I tend to be a little longer winded in my tapping. Other tappers are shorter. So we usually just get one round done. I'm trying to see here whose message this is. Oh, Eileen is able to look back at these times and know that we were able to care for ourselves and others. Really so important. Everything that I am reading, hearing, tapping into, listening to on YouTube from spiritual teachers that I like to follow, the message across the board, even if they're delivering it a little bit differently, even if their methodologies are a little bit different, or they're coming from a particular perspective, the message that comes through clearly is that this is what we are being called into at this period in time. I just said the word being, and that's part of what this message is that we're called to be being more and doing less. To really, as I said, give ourselves permission to just be rather than do, to listen in more to the divine guidance that's coming, to the messages that we're receiving, to really practice self-love, self-care, self-forgiveness, self-acceptance, self-approval in a way that we've never done before. To really have that created within us rather than relying on some external validation. which, it's great if it comes and it's not so great if it doesn't come. I'm noticing both with my clients and with friends that I'm connecting to, that everyone is, if they're tuning in, being invited to do some really deep work in this period of time, to go back and unearth old patterns that have impacted them across their lifetime, where they may never have noticed the thread before. People are starting to see how, early lifetime experiences, family of origin situations, issues, maybe even religious or cultural influences that have, put them on a certain trajectory that maybe now they're realizing might not be the healthiest choices for me, right? So it's a time, I talk about it as sort of emotional archaeology, right? Where we are really lovingly digging up the old stories, the old patterns, the old broken parts and pieces, so that we can bring them into the light of day, clean them off, tell a different story about them, and then sort of reconstruct that in a way that really honors our own personal history and everything we've been through, and recognizes that everything our soul chose in this lifetime was chosen to support our higher purpose at this point in time. I'm going to be talking a lot more about this when I'm planning to do a 5-day mini training series on this Facebook page live. I had planned to do it actually next week, but I'm having computer issues. So I'm going to have to put it off for a couple of weeks until I can get that all straightened out. But if you find these topics interesting, I'm really going to spend a week sort of dissecting and looking at the intersection of early childhood trauma or lifetime trauma, energy psychology, spiritual awakening, and passion and purpose, and how the beautiful intersection of all of those things, which is where I love to do my work with clients. So keep your eyes open for that. I'm gonna say goodnight now and let you all go on to finish your evening. I'm gonna go have some dinner, and namaste, and many, many blessings to all of you, and just sending so much love and care your way. And I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.